Yeah. Every part on the bag is, this is different. This one is called the Millionaire. Yeah. It's called a Millionaire.
For a reason.
Yeah, well, it comes
This story
with
starts in the sunshine of Paris Fashion Week in 2023.
And this was when this pudgy yellow handbag was worn by the musician Pharrell Williams. And he designed this handbag for Louis Vuitton. It was called the Millionaire Speedy.
Yeah, well, it comes with Millionaires.
Oh.
And every bit of the bag is gold. Like the zipper, the teeth on the zipper is gold. All the hardware, every rivet. This is gold. This is gold, obviously paved in diamonds. This chain is real. Feel it.
The bag Pharrell designed was made from the soft skins of 3 or 4 young crocodiles.
And it made a real splash among the fashion elite. It was championed in Vogue, and it served to upstage the Hermes Birkin crocodile skin bag, which had this elite waiting list. It was available only by invitation, and it carried $1 million price tag. Celebrities across the globe were clambering for them. The Real Housewives of everywhere were wearing them, and so were figures like Kim Kardashian, Martha Stewart, and Beyonce. And on TikTok, Rihanna gushed about the Millionaire Speedy, and she said, I would sell all my purses to get this one.
You know what I really want in my closet? Like, I would sell all my purses just for this one. It's the little Speedy Croc LV monogram bag. Amazing.
Somebody need to get her that.
The crocodile skins that supply Louis Vuitton and Hermes and most of the luxury fashion houses come mostly from Australia. Australia supplies most of the world's croc skins for luxury goods, and most croc factory farms are in Darwin.
Katherine Wilson is an award-winning journalist. As she started to look into the crocodile skin industry, she knew that she had to visit Darwin. And what she found when she went was a booming $100 million industry with a troubling underbelly. I'm Ruby Jones, and you're listening to 7am. Today, Katherine Wilson on croc farming, conservation claims, and the true cost of luxury fashion. It's Friday, January 9, and this is part 1 of a 2-part series which was originally published in August. So, Kath, you recently went to Darwin to learn more about these crocodile farms. Can you tell me what you discovered about the way they operate and the types of conditions that the crocodiles are living in?
Yeah, I was lucky to have my trip sponsored by an outfit called World Animal Protection through another Melbourne-based organisation called Collective Fashion Justice, which advocates for ethical practices in the fashion industry. Both these outfits have for years been really keen to have media come and view the untold conditions on these farms. So these facilities are called farms, but it's probably a misnomer. When we think of farms, we might think of pastoral scenes or rural idols, but these facilities are more akin to manufacturing plants and production lines of crocs. They warehouse about 130,000 crocs in the territory alone, and they're huge carceral places with maximum security, so they're really quite like prisons. And one of the first things you notice outside these facilities is this weird dank smell, but it's probably best to describe what you can see in whistleblower footage. And this is footage taken partly by workers within these farms and also by animal activist investigators. And what the footage shows are crocs that are each housed in cages that are submerged in these vast concrete channels or sumps where they're kept alive for 2 years.
Okay, so tell me a bit about how this $100 million industry developed, how we got to this point that Darwin is supplying these crocodile skins in such a large scale.
Yeah, well, of course, crocodiles have coexisted with Indigenous people in the territory for millennia, but they were feared by settlers, and by the 1970s, saltwater crocs were hunted almost to extinction.
The trap is quite an ingenious affair. A rope with a heavy log attached to it runs through a pulley block to the running noose. The lower part of this is carefully buried in the mud, so the crocodile will not disturb it, but put its head and shoulders through the loop to reach the bait.
But then in 71, hunting was banned in the Territory and slightly later in Queensland, and croc populations started rapidly rebounding. And then you had farming introduced from the 1980s. Now, farming relies on collecting eggs from the wild and bringing them back to farms.
Considering the great size of a crocodile, the eggs are not so large as one might expect, being not such a great deal larger than an ordinary hen's egg. Both ends of the egg are similar. There is no pointed end. Many of the eggs have...
And farmers really needed social licence to extract these eggs from wild populations. So from the 1980s, croc farmers identified as conservationists. They promoted their trade as a profitable way to reduce pressure on wild populations.
And I think it just makes a lot of economic sense, and it makes a lot of sense also for the conservation of the animal.
This was a little bit of tricky messaging because the eggs they extracted were on this one-way ticket to factory farms. The hatchlings were raised in the factories for profit and never made it back into the wild. But the industry spin kind of told another story.
This is a potentially dangerous, unloved animal, but if you can make him worth money, people will tolerate him around.
Farmers and industry figures insisted that monetised incentives to collect these eggs would help people accept crocs, and that the conservation success story was achieved not by protecting crocs, but by making crocs a financial asset to local people. So this belief persists that croc skin commerce is responsible for protecting and increasing crocodile numbers. But it recently came to light that almost all of the positive messaging and research cited to support croc farming arises either from the industry itself or from government officials and advocates associated with this industry.
Coming up, inside a crocodile cage. Kath, you spoke to whistleblowers, people who'd worked in these farms. Can you tell me a bit about what they said to you about the conditions and the way that things operate?
Yeah, the whistleblowers have so far documented 4 croc factories in the Darwin regions. And the conditions they've documented are pretty shocking. But these conditions can't be legally challenged because they're within standards set by the federal government's Code of Practice. So this code allows 1/4 to 1/2 square metre of cage space per crocodile, in which they typically can't fully extend their bodies once they're market ready.
My name is Donnie Imbalong. My family's Jaru, so from about 3.5 hours south of here.
One of the former Indigenous workers in these farms, Donnie Imbalong, described how his work involved this production line scenario where his co-worker was electrocuting each croc to stun them, and Donnie had to drag them out and duct tape their snouts shut.
So I had to, job was to flip it around. If the croc was being difficult, I had to try and get him down to the end with the opening, and once I got him there, the offside I would zap him for about 10 seconds, stun it, and then I'd have to open the cage door and tape the mouth and eyes shut, and then flip it up, belly up on the top of the cage, and then the boss would come around and inspect the belly between the front and hind legs. That was the most valuable part of the body.
And they'd wait in these cages for slaughter, which was a terribly drawn-out process that involves a practice called pithing, in which a worker has to force a steel rod into the croc's brain to scramble it. So you can imagine the impact, not just on the croc, but on the workers having to perform this work. And Donnie describes how he felt the croc's spirit had been crushed.
Would get a bit of a lump in my throat doing it and sort of seeing the state of them, and felt like their spirit was crushed or defeated in a way, like, you know, just seeing these animals reduced to,
And we have to remember that the crocodile is a sacred totem species for many Aboriginal people in northern Australia.
And it does feel very colonial still. It's like, the colony providing the resources for the mother country. It is a very colonial industry.
I also spoke with elders and traditional owners and an ex-croc farmer who said farmers were ripping off ranchers. And ranchers are the people on the ground collecting eggs, often Indigenous communities. Each of these eggs is sold to farms for around $25. So you can see there's this $1 million handbag at the high end. And on the ground, on the other hand, ranchers risking their lives mucking around in these sludgy swamp nests to find eggs that might get them $25 each. And that's only if the croc farmer deems them viable.
And so as more information about these farms and the way the industry works comes to light, is the fashion industry responding? Are people's understandings changing?
Yeah, look, animal advocates are becoming a huge force, and they have among them some luminaries like Chris Darwin, who is Charles Darwin's great-great-grandson. And by last year, groups like Collective Fashion Justice and Defend the Wild and PETA had successfully lobbied fashion weeks in London, in Berlin, Copenhagen, Amsterdam and Melbourne to ban wild skins.
So PETA's expose of Hermes suppliers in the US and Africa found that for every Hermes watch band or Birkin bag, crocodiles and alligators suffered miserable lives.
And this was following very graphic catwalk disruptions around the world in which placards showed the conditions on these farms. And many luxury brands, including Chanel and Vivienne Westwood, have now resolved to divest from animal skins.
Victoria Beckham, Chanel, Vivienne Westwood, all of these brands have already banned exotic skins, and if Hermes doesn't do it soon, they will be left behind.
In Australia, David Jones has also committed to phasing out skins by 2026.
And at the heart of this story, Kath, are the crocodiles themselves. So tell me about the research into what these animals are like and what you learnt about them as a species.
Yeah, crocodiles get really bad press, but they're really astonishing creatures. They've been billed as evolution's greatest survivors, as they're pretty much the same as their Triassic ancestors, which existed, as you'd know, well before dinosaur extinction. And in recent years, scientists have found them to be emotive and creative and playful and curious. They have language, they use tools. For example, they've been observed coordinating a complex of sticks as lures to entrap nesting birds. And by many measures, they're more sentient, or at least more sensitive than us, because they have these unique perceptive systems, these little organs embedded in nodules across their bodies, the very same anatomies as their deep-time ancestors. And so, for example, when crocodiles are submerged, their little nerve fibres can detect these signature vibrations of other animals. And the reason we know about all this is partly because of the work of two Darwin-based scientists, one Graham Webb and the other named Adam Britton, whose research is now under a huge cloud.
This was part one of a two-part series. In the next episode, Kath Wilson finds out how the scientific work of a criminal animal abuser underpins the claims of conservation at the heart of the crocodile skin industry. It's called Part 2, Crocodiles and Criminals, and it's in your feed right now.